All right, let's talk about Ukraine now. Well, surprise, surprise. War was supposed to be starting any minute now, right? Didn't we know? Were we hearing
48 hours.
48 hours. War is about to happen, right? Surprise, surprise. War is supposed to be coming any minute if you believe Western media, right? If you turn on CNN, they were telling you it was coming, right? MSNBC said it was coming.
Basically salivating.
Yeah. By the way, people want to know, what beer am I drinking? This is a bubbly water. So, I'm just going to start drinking during this show.
Yeah, it looks like you're drinking Guinness all the time. Beer.
This is it's called Paid Rush. That didn't focus. Anyway. Russia is about to invade Ukraine, right? All weekend. We heard from White House and government officials had intelligence, all of them suggesting that major military action could begin any day now. Well, sadly, shortly after all of those media reports suggested a Russian invasion of Ukraine was imminent, Moscow this morning, early morning, announcing that it was withdrawing all of its troops from the border, and then basically claimed Western propaganda had failed once again. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So, goaded by the Biden administration, major news outlets like The Sun and others reported that the invasion was set for tomorrow. I mean, look at this. I love this. This is going to age well, as this tweet says. But this won't age well. Russia set to invade Ukraine at 1 a.m. tomorrow with massive missile blitz and 200,000 troops. Get ready. It's all about to happen. But within hours, it appeared the media had, of course, jumped the gun on this.
And where did that picture come from? Like, I wonder if that...
Yeah, where's that picture? It's like a stock
from the
photo.
80s or something.
Right. You know what it is? It's when the United States probably invaded somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
So as the forces complete their military exercises, they will, as always, complete a multimodal march back to their permanent bases, Russians said. The Russian spokesperson said the divisions of the South and the West military districts have finished their tasks and have already begun loading up their rail and automobile transport back home. And today we will begin moving our garrisons back home. Sorry. Russia also released video clips showing all of the armored trucks and tanks being loaded onto railway carriages.
Wait, is that the propaganda film we heard about?
Must be the propaganda movies, right? Don't believe them. So
Crisis
again,
actors.
I love this. So this is hilarious. So, right, they send video. There's reports now breaking on Bloomberg and other places showing that like Russia is literally pulling back, putting tanks on trains, part of these military operations. They're going back to their home districts and all of that. But of course, NATO, not to be outdone, NATO is still saying, hold on a second, not so fast. Even though all of these troops are leaving, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a de-escalation. In fact, that is literally what the NATO ambassador, one of the NATO leaders from Norway said. He said, this doesn't mean it's a de-escalation. Please, basically just keep sending us your money, right? Keep pretending that there is a war about to happen because we need your money. We need your support. Like Canada, you want to send us weapons? You want to send us money? We need it. Please send it to us. Tulsi Gabbard appeared. She's always like a great voice of reason. I mean, here is a veteran, right, who served in Iraq, knows, and she's a registered Democrat for crying out loud, right? She says there's one thing that President Biden could do right now to end all of this tension. And why hasn't he done it? Here's Tulsi Gabbard last night on this exact issue.
Well, first of all, President Biden could end this crisis and prevent a war with Russia by doing something very simple, guaranteeing that Ukraine will not become a member of NATO. Because if Ukraine became a member of NATO, that would put U.S. and NATO troops directly on the doorstep of Russia, which, as Putin has laid out, would undermine their national security interests. The reality is that it is highly, highly unlikely that Ukraine will ever become a member of NATO anyway. So the question is, why doesn't President Biden and NATO leaders actually just say that and guarantee it? Which begs the question of why are we in this position then?
We're in this position of our own making. From the beginning, Russia has said, we're not invading. We don't want to invade. Heck, we're just hearing about this the other day. Yesterday, even Russia saying, we're not invading. We have no intention of invading. But the Western media is like, don't believe them. Don't believe them. What's amazing to me is we would know, right? We would know instantly if there was an invasion. 200,000 missiles are about to be fired at Ukraine. They're about to totally destroy Ukraine. They're going to take it over. Okay, and maybe they still will, right? Maybe this is like brinksmanship back and forth. But I'll believe it when I see it. But instead, we need to make sure that money is there. We need to send as many troops as we can to the region. We need to send as many tanks and pieces of, any kind of guns and other kind of armored vehicles, whatever we can. We got to make sure it goes there. Because, of course, NATO and the military-industrial complex would love nothing more than a war with Russia. Absolutely, why they're pushing for it.
A lot of money in war.
Didn't we? You were here last week, right? When we showed you the. It was an article. Was it in Politico or was it a Washington Post piece? I forget, but it said why we should rattle Putin's cage, and it was the article was brought to you by Northrop Grumman, right? Or from it was like. I mean, really, it was like sponsored by, and I was like, oh, and it was an opinion piece, sponsored by Really, I'm surprised to hear that you would support us bombing another country. Shocking. So all of this to say, Kremlin officials seized upon this whole troop withdrawal as proof of a propaganda victory against the United States and NATO. They're taking a victory lap this morning, saying, "See, we told you, we had no intention of doing this." Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharov from Russia said 15th of February 2022, that's today, she says, will go down in history as the day the Western war propaganda failed, she wrote. She says that the West has been shamed and destroyed without firing a single shot. That's what she says.
As long as our media doesn't still find a way to, downplay that. Because like you said, there's already people saying, no, this is not a de-escalation. This is not a de-escalation.
NATO is already saying this is not. Don't believe the hype. They could literally be about to destroy. We got to send money and we got to
believe what we're saying, not what you see. Okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Can you imagine? Yeah. Believe what we say, but not what we do. Right. Yeah. We definitely need more money to build additional ships and submarines. Like, this is an example of why we need billions more dollars, because we never know what crazy Putin's going to do. And if you unpack it just a second, right? And I'm not a Putin apologist, but if you point out their side of it, you are labeled like a Putin apologist. You are labeled pro-Russia, whatever. No, could it be that I don't want war? Could it be I'm anti-war? And I will do whatever it takes to make sure that no one is killed in a war, and Americans have access to good health care and schools and bridges and roads and quality food, which we don't have. But instead we spend $768 billion a year on war. So I will do anything I can say on this show to try to draw attention to this, to make sure that we are spending our money on the American people instead of the war machine, but we don't. And so if we unpack it for a second, Putin has been saying, we don't want NATO on our doorstep. We don't want this aggressive you might sit back and say, well, why wouldn't he want NATO there? Right? NATO's a cute, cuddly, friendly organization. Oh, really? Really? No. NATO is an extension of the United States military. That's all it is. Right? It's basically a shell company for the United States military. So we can set up bases and occupations wherever we want around the world. And so, of course, Putin doesn't want NATO in Ukraine building military bases on its doorstep. Of course he doesn't want that. And it's understandable. We wouldn't want that either. If Russia said, you know what, we're going to partner with Canada and we're going to literally build military bases right in Ottawa. How would we handle that? We would invade Canada and we would annex Canada. That's exactly what we would do. Be like, it's been nice. We've allowed you to exist on your own for a while, Canada. We've had enough of that now. You're ours. That's exactly what we would do.
Do you remember that video that I shared? Like, we did a video when we were at the Ron Paul campaign of a speech that Ron made that talks about if China built bases in Texas.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, like people don't think about that. They don't think about we do the equivalent of somebody coming here and building a base in Texas and expect like we would think, oh no, they're here in the auspices of peace. They're here to spread democracy. No, you are an invading force. It doesn't matter what you think or what the United States government tells you. It is us placing a base on someone else's land and in order to threaten them. And that's all it is. It is a threat.
Johnny Harris, I don't know if you've ever seen his YouTube channel. He does a good job. Johnny Harris, he did a video. He just released it almost 11 months ago. The U.S. military is everywhere. Mapping Every Military Base by Johnny Harris. He's a filmmaker and journalist. He tried his best to set up to cover as a journalist basically every military base by the United States government around the world, and he couldn't do it. That's how many military bases there are. He couldn't do it. He tried. Nice try, Johnny. But he couldn't do it. There's just too many. And there's too many that we don't know about. There's too many that are currently being built. They're currently moving one from another. They're tearing one down and rebuilding it, brand new one over here constantly. So it's surprising that Putin wouldn't want NATO building something on its doorstep. But Tulsi Gabbard, I want to go back to what she said. She's absolutely right. President Biden could step in and say, let's stop playing this charade. Look, Ukraine, you're not going to become a part of NATO. I know you want it. I know it's in your constitution that you want it. You'd like it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're not going to do it. So let's just end it right now. Then this would totally de-escalate the situation. But instead, we love to stir the hornet's nest, Anything we can do to continue to feed the military-industrial complex, we're going to continue to do that. If you like this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, we have a membership program. For the price of a cup of coffee once a month, you can support independent journalism just by going to morninginvest.com/join.
You get access to exclusive videos, plus the ability to join and chat with us live. We really appreciate your subscription, and you are supporting independent journalism.